When you think about unheated South American aquarium, the first thing probably comes to your mind are peppered corridors and Buenos Aires tetra, but there is certainly much more species that you can keep in an unheated room temperature South American community setup. So I've decided to create this particular riparium. This is an unheated South American style riparium with emerald, Brochis and bloodfin tetras. So at the end of this video I will share a few other species of South American fish that you can keep in an unheated tank. But before, I'll take you through a step-by-step setup of this unheated South American community riparium. Enjoy watching. We will be using this shallow 90-liter tank. I will leave the dimensions in the description of this video. It is about 3 feet long and it's about 1 feet tall, so it's going to be perfect for a riparium. I have here a DIY stand which I assembled myself. It's nothing fancy but very sturdy and very functionable, and also made this really ugly holder for the lamp. For LED lamp, because the lamp needs to be much higher than the water surface for riparian plants to get enough light. It looks ugly, but eventually it will all be covered by riparian plants, so it doesn't really matter how it looks. Because this is supposed to be an energy-saving unheated setup, I will be using 2 pieces of equipment. Yes, only 2 pieces of equipment. There will be LED lights and there will be canister filter to push water through driftwood, through the roots of riparian plants into the tank. There will be no heater. This tank will be a room temperature tank, which would be about 21-22 degrees Celsius. Alright, we are going to get started and let's have a look at the equipment. These 2 pieces of equipment, this is supposed to be a LED lamp and this is a canister filter, were kindly provided by All Ponds Solutions. If you are living in the UK, you've probably heard about All Ponds Solutions. They are a supplier of budget aquarium equipment, and I have been using their products for many years. They're usually very functionable, cheap and fairly energy saving. So a while ago I have been approached by All Ponds Solutions and they've asked me if I have any plans to put together some sort of a new setup so that they could provide equipment for that setup. And I happened to actually think about this unheated South American riparium, so I told them that I would need just these 2 pieces of equipment, and I'm really thankful for them that they send them over to me. So we're going to do unboxing and we're going to install these 2 pieces of equipment. Both of these items supposed to be energy saving. I've picked them up myself, and they're also quite cheap, so I will leave links in the description of this video. Again, this is not a sponsored video, but I thought that if you want to recreate something similar, you might find these products useful. Alright, we'll start with an LED lamp. It comes in a box. So this is a typical All Ponds Solutions PLED PLED lamp 910. It's designed for 1 meter long tanks. It's kind of a metal framed lamp, and I've had similar lamps, smaller lamps before, and actually I'm using one on my other riparium in our bedroom, and it's been, I think, in operation for more than 5 years, so these lamps, they do last a long time. Yeah, so this is a lamp. It comes in different sizes, and it's a very basic LED, I have to tell you. This is just yellow lights, but unless you're growing some particularly sensitive aquatic plants, this should work fine. And for me, I will be growing some surface aquatic plants and some undemanding underwater aquatic plants, but most of the plants I will have in this setup will be riparian plants, and for riparian plants something like that will work perfectly. So this lamp has a very nice looking design, and it is actually very powerful. I haven't turned it on yet, but I know from my previous experience of using similar model lamps from All Pond Solutions, I know that they are really powerful. In terms of its energy consumption, this is exactly actually what I need. It's only 28 watt, and for the lamp of this size, of this capacity, this is not much at all. I have other LED lamps about the same size, which are almost 50 watt or 60 watt, and they're about as powerful as this one. So the only other thing that comes with the lamp is power cord with a switch, and yeah, this apparently goes in there. So we'll get it installed. So the lamp is installed. I've attached it with some sort of thread, some sort of a green plastic thread. It doesn't look very appealing, but you have to keep in mind that this upper part will most likely be covered by riparian plants, so it's not going to be noticeable, and the lamp actually looks great. And yes, I've decided not to use any background behind this tank because I wanted to have this kind of an effect of a distance, and this pole which holds the lamp, hopefully it will be behind the scape, it will be behind hardscape, so it's not going to be noticeable, and the switch from the lamp will also be covered by hardscape, so this is not going to be noticeable. Now we will unbox the canister. Yeah, so the canister is EF 150 aquarium external filter designed for fish tanks up to 150 liters. This tank is much smaller than 150 liters, so this will be more than sufficient. I don't need too much flow in this tank. I just need something to push water through the hardscape and through the roots of riparian plants, so this will be an excellent option. This is actually also an energy saving filter. It's only 6 watt, which is about as strong as an air pump actually, and it's much more energy saving than the similar capacity Eheim filters, for example. So let's get it opened. I've never had this model of canister before, so I'm really excited to see what's inside. Right. So we have here a filter. It's very small actually, but this is exactly what I need, and it should be perfect for smaller tanks. Yeah, so it's a very interesting model because you can see that the pump is not in the filter head, it's not in the lid of the filter, but it's here. I believe this is an outflow pipe, and this is inflow, but we are going to check the manual. There's also this box which I believe should hold all the pipes. Yeah, all the connections, pipes look very similar to Eheim pipes. That's a tap, it's a control valve, and there is a instruction manual. So let's see what's in this packages. Yeah, that's I guess it's an inflow pipe. That's how I guess it works. Yep, this is to connect it to the hose, and a couple of suction cups. Actually perfect size for this tank. It's like yeah, I didn't even know the size of this inflow pipe, but it's perfect. Well, I can see this one has a spray bar, a very small and cute spray bar. I don't think I will be using it, but maybe I will actually. I don't really know. So yeah, that's outflow connector, and I guess the pipe is being attached here, and then it goes on and being attached to spray bar. So we'll get it all installed, and let's have a look inside of this canister. So the lid is off. It has a relatively tight seal inside. This looks like that. This is clearly to ensure that the filter media does not prevent the inflow of water. So first we have a coarse sponge, and that makes sense because water comes from here through inlet pipe and gets through that sponge. Next we have a medium sponge, nice colors, and last we have a fine sponge. Yes, the sponges are quite thick, so they should provide, I would say, very efficient mechanical filtration and also some sort of biological filtration as well. And basically I need this filter for mostly mechanical filtration, because plants that I will have in this tank, they will be doing most of biological filtration. So it's absolutely fine for me that there's so much space occupied by sponges, but I believe if you would prefer to have more biological media in here, you could remove probably like this middle sponge, and you could have these two sponges, coarse and fine sponge, and they will do all the mechanical filtration for you. But in my case I will keep all the sponges just as they're here. Next we have this fine filter wool for removing any sort of impurities from the water and doing the final stage of filtration. I'll keep this one as well. On the bottom we have bioballs, and there's actually quite enough space for bioballs, you can see. So I guess once the water will be flowing, they will be moving around, and they will be hosting some denatrifying bacteria, and they will be moving around. So that's quite an important thing. If you use bioballs, they have to be moving around, and they're perfect for pond filters, they're perfect for sumps and for canisters. They would work if there's a space for them to move around, to kind of be in the flow, and there's plenty of space for that in here, so I think they will be moving around. I don't know whether I will leave these bioballs here or I will add something else, because I'm not particularly interested in biological filtration. I will probably leave bioballs here. So next we are going to do the hardscape, and after we're done with hardscape I will get this canister installed, because I need to see what sort of layout my hardscape will have in order to position the pipes, especially the outflow pipe. So installation of this canister will be in a further part of this video. So it's time to do hardscape, and I will be using natural colored sand. This is actually a pool filter sand. It comes in this kind of a huge 20 kg bag, and I washed some of it because it's a bit dusty, but we'll see if this is enough. If not, I will be using some of unwashed sand as well. Because I wanted to make it kind of a biotop style Riparium, I want to use a natured colored sand, and I will not be using any sort of nutritious layer under the sand, because there will be no plants growing in their roots in sand. Most likely this is not going to be enough. I'll have more of unwashed sand and I'm going to use it. But first I want to install the hardscape, the driftwood, upon which I will create this riparium structure with plants growing on top of driftwood. So this is what we're going to potentially be working with. This is quite a selection of driftwood. This is, well, these three are mangrove driftwood, and that one is redmoor driftwood. I don't think if I will be using all of it. We'll see how it goes. So the idea is to create some sort of a structure that will have large piece of driftwood kind of popping out from the scape, and which will provide the space for riparian plants to grow on. Normally when I'm using this type of heavy driftwood, I'm trying to place them not on sand but on the bare bottom, and I will use some filter wool to support it so that it doesn't kind of touch the bottom of the fish tank. I have these different pieces of old filter wool which I will place in various places here. So eventually this will hold together by the sand down there, and sand will cover the filter wool, so that shouldn't be a problem. I like to use this piece of driftwood, but it's really chunky and heavy, and I don't think it's going to sit in actually. Well, it may be, but it will put too much pressure. This looks more like it, and it's also a very beautiful looking piece of driftwood. The question is how to get it in place. So this is what we have so far in terms of scape. I'm not sure whether this piece of driftwood redmoor would fit in here or not. I kept on playing with this around. For now I'll remove it, but if I feel that actually I can use it as a surface for planting riparian plants, I will probably put it back in. The next step will be to add riparian plants in order to see how this all fits together. I will be adding more sand, and I will kind of spread the sand even later on, but for now I'll leave it as it is. So these are the riparian plants that we have for this setup. These two are Parlour or Areca palms. Chamaedorea elegans. This is just a regular Parlour palm. This one we had growing in a pot and it wasn't doing very well, so I just picked up those parts that were still alive and I put them in water, and I will be using them. This is certainly a much larger bits of palm, but I think they will fit together quite well. We'll also be using two species of fern. This is Polysticum fern. Ignore the price. Well, yeah, I usually buy I'm trying to buy most of my riparian plants from Tesco because they're cheap and they're good quality. This is a much smaller type of fern. This is a Nephrolepis fern. There's no full Latin name, but I guess it's just a genus name, and you can guess what it will be like. So now I will wash the roots of these plants from soil. This is what I normally do before adding them to my ripariums. This is going to be quite straightforward with Areca palm because it doesn't have really fine roots. It actually has relatively thick roots, and that will be easier. The plan is to install these bamboo sticks in the background and cover them up with Areca palm. These are real bamboo sticks and they're quite heavy. I've used them in my previous setups, particularly in Blackwater Asian setup, and they work quite well. They don't leach anything as far as I can tell, and they sink straight away, so they're not going to float. Just need to install them in here. I think Areca palm will work quite well with these bamboo sticks because it potentially looks like bamboo stems or something of that kind. Yeah, we'll probably need a suction cup to get all these stems attached. This is what we have for now, In my previous experience, I know that ferns don't grow well when their roots are completely submerged in water, so at least part of their roots have to be outside of water, and this is what I was trying to do here. I will need to make sure that the water from canister's outflow pipe actually flows through the roots of this fern so that it stays wet all the time. I will also cover some parts of this driftwood with Sphagnum fern. I have quite a lot of Sphagnum fern, so we'll be doing that right now. There's one more riparian plant that I would like to add to this setup, and this is a sweet potato. I know that it can produce really beautiful looking roots underwater, and also it can grow quite a lot of immersed growth. Yeah, it will of course take time for this sweet potato to produce either roots or leaves, and I'm not quite sure. I've never used it in any of my aquariums, so I don't know how long it's gonna take and whether it will actually start growing. So, but that will be an experiment. I will give it a try. I'll have to figure out where to add it so that it's not too noticeable, but also that it will produce quite a lot of growth. I've added the sweet potato here. It does get enough light, so I hope it will start growing, and if it grows it probably is going to have leaves coming up from here and roots down there, so that's perfect. Again, I don't know whether it's going to hold in place. We will see once we add water. This is our small farm of Sphagnum moss. I keep it in this box on the windowsill, and it seems to be growing actually. Because it's winter and I guess it doesn't get too much light, it doesn't grow too actively, but there's still quite a bit of fresh growth on this side that's closer to the window side. And yeah, basically as I remove some of it, which I'm gonna do right now, it's going to grow back eventually. Ferns will really appreciate if their roots are all covered with Sphagnum moss. This is what they normally like. But it's important that Sphagnum moss stays wet. If it dries up, it's not going to grow. So I have to make sure that water passes through all these areas. For now, I'm not sure at all because I haven't installed the filter yet. I will be adding more Sphagnum moss a bit later, because now I'm not quite sure whether it will be covered by water or not, because if it will be in dry areas it will just dry up. So I will need to add more sand now and then fill it up with water, and we'll see what else we can add in terms of riparian plants. Water is added. As you can see, when I added water, one of the, well, actually the largest driftwood went up, and the whole scape collapsed. Everything went into pieces, so it took me another 2 hours to put it all together as it used to be before, but now it seems to be holding on tightly and nothing is floating and everything looks fine for now. I've added a sponge with beneficial bacteria from the tank with fish, so it will help with cycling. The water is cloudy now because there was apparently lots of dust in the sand, and also when everything collapsed, this Sphagnum moss, there was quite a bit of soil in it, so all of this went into the tank, and so it's a mess. But hopefully once we switch on the filter, things will start to clear up. And this is the next thing to do. We are going to prime and start this canister filter. To prime the canister, you have to fill it with aquarium water, which I have done, and then I just locked it. And then, well, the inlet control valve should be open at this stage. Then we turn it on. And it's actually seems to be filling with water. It says in the instructions that I need to close it for a couple of seconds, the inlet valve, and then open it. And that's how it's supposed to be priming. I'm not sure if it is priming. It can be done a few times according to the instructions. I'll try to switch it off, switch it on. And I believe now it's filling up with water. Not quite sure, so let's do the same thing again. So the canister started priming now. It took me a couple of tries to switch it on and switch it off. I guess it's a bit slower because I have really low water level in my tank, and it's not designed to be working with such a low water level. It probably needs a much higher water level in order to prime properly. But nevertheless, it's priming slowly but steadily. After a few minutes of priming, the canister started working. You can see that I've put the outflow pipe with spray bar in the back of the tank. Yes, so the spray bar is in the back of the tank behind this hardscape, and it should be pushing water through the roots of these two ferns. I think it does. I can't see for sure, but it does sound like it. Yeah, and the filter is actually quiet. It's absolutely quiet. Well, let's we'll move the camera close to it, and you can hear that it doesn't really produce any noise. I'm just moving microphone closer to the canister, and yeah, it's almost quiet. There's some sounds of bubbles coming out, but that's normal during priming, and other than that I can't hear any engine sound so far, and that's great actually. But it's inside the cabinet. I'll have this cabinet closed. There is a door, and behind door we won't hear any sound at all. But even without door, it doesn't really produce any sound at all, which is great. There's no leakages. It's not leaking anywhere, and that's great as well. Next stage is to add all the floating plants. I have here quite a selection of different plants. There is Riccia moss, lots of duckweed, and some water lettuce. I will get more water lettuce, and there's also some Amazon frogbeet in here. Over here we've got, let me just open the back, some species of Myriophyllum. I actually bought it in a cold water section of a local fish store, so it should grow well in a colder temperature. I've kept it in here for a few days, so I hope it's still alive. Yeah, it's alive. It's kind of a hornwort type of plant, which will attach somewhere in the back of the scape. I'm thinking of some place in here. Just to make sure that it gets enough light and it forms some sort of a background like this. And we're going to add all of these plants. So the idea is that this side of the tank will be all, the top of the tank will be all covered with floating plants, and there is sort of a divider here. There is actually a piece of driftwood which prevents these plants from getting to the other side of the tank. As always is the case with floating plants, there's never a guarantee that they will start growing and they will adapt to these conditions, but we're going to give them a try. It's been 4 hours after we finished the setup, and the water is still cloudy, but that's alright because the filter is working, so eventually it will clear up the water, possibly by tomorrow. And now it's time to add fish actually, so without any further ado I will be adding the fish, and I will switch off lights so they're not so stressful. Alright, so it's been 3 days after we set up this tank, and the water has cleared up. Fish seem to be doing fine. It still takes some time for Brochis to get used to this new environment. Bloodfin tetras seem to be enjoying this setup. Plants are still adapting. I can't see any growth on them yet, but it will take them probably a couple of weeks before they will start feeling themselves comfortable in this setup. And yes, overall, so far this has been a successful setup. I can see that the hardscape actually stays in place. And so I've said previously at the beginning of this video that I will provide a list of other species of South American fish that can thrive in unheated tanks. So if you would like to have a similar setup, which is a relatively small tank and a potentially beautiful setup, you can have a few other species of tetras from South America. For example, Sorpo tetras, reed tetras, black skirt tetras. Also neon tetras will thrive in this unheated room temperature setup. In terms of Chamaedorea's options, apart from emerald Brochis, which will thrive in unheated tank, you can also keep, well, of course, peppered Chamaedoreas, bronze Chamaedoreas, panda Chamaedoreas, Chamaedoreas trilineatus, Chamaedoreas venezuelensis. Yeah, so these are most of the species that are widely available in aquarium trade, and you can easily swap them for these two species that I have in this tank. I also have a fairly old video about a Limnobium species which can thrive in unheated tanks. I'll leave a link somewhere up here, and you can check it for Limnobium options, because you can also add to a tank like this a pair of Pistos, and they will settle down quite well, and they will coexist with Chamaedoreas and tetras quite harmoniously. Alright, so that's it for now. I'll keep you updated on how this setup develops, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to leave your comments, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet, and I'll see you soon.